begin. What's up, guys? I'm Ricky Cicchini. I'm the VP of Product at CloudRadial. We're going to be talking about CloudRadial DNS, powered by Scout DNS. Brief introductions. We'll let everybody do their own, but I have Michael. I've never even asked you. Is your last name Chasen? Chasen?
Yes, Jason.
Chasen. Yeah, I've always called you Mike. Mike Chasen, account manager at CloudRadial. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Mike.
Well, like you said, I'm an account manager here at CloudRadial. I noticed quite a few of my partners actually filtering in. So, hi guys, nice to see y'all here. I was in the MSP space for a long time myself before coming here to CloudRadial. And if I'm your account manager out there, and there's a good chance I am, I'm your primary point of contact here, and help you out with new features, and find some pain points, help you push forward with the software, help you grow it, grow your client base using the tool. Yeah, that's me, I guess.
And there's a little tidbit we'll talk about in a little bit about you and your MSP experiences with DNS tools. Mike is not just a beauty
I'll
pick.
try to save some things here. Yeah.
Okay. I won't spoil it, but there's a specific reason why Mike is the go-to guy for the call of this. And then obviously we've got Tim Adams, founder of Scout DNS. Please, Tim, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Ricky and Mike, and hello, everyone. Yeah, founder of Scout DNS, started the company or started building the product back in 2016, 2017, right when Cisco had purchased OpenDNS. Before that, I was running a wireless integrator, actually two different wireless integrators for about 7 or 8 years, focused on high density wireless deployments. And that's kind of, when we got into working a lot with OpenDNS, and then when Cisco purchased it, long story short, we created an alternative, and years later, here we are. So
beautiful. Yeah, and today I'll set the tone for us for this whole thing. As you could probably tell, we keep these things pretty informal, pretty casual, but this is a deep dive demo, meaning that we're going to talk about, again, we call CloudRadial DNS, which is a DNS solution powered by Scouts. We're going to take a really deep look at Scout's interface, how that works, the kind of the features there, how that works with CloudRadial, how you can kind of get the best of a super solid DNS tool. You can get the client-facing self-service aspect of that in your CloudRadial portal. We're going to talk about how that looks and everything too. And then in general, what the use cases are, how you can kind of talk about it, how you can sell it, how it makes hopefully a whole lot of sense for everybody. So not going to keep a PowerPoint for very long. I'm usually only good for like 5 minutes on these things anyways. So let's just get to, if you've never heard of us, because we did invite both current clients of both of ours, and also if you've never heard of us and you just want to take a look, here's a quick recap. So I'll start with some CloudRadial stuff. CloudRadial has been around since about 2018. The super high level gist, without reading a wall of text to you guys, is that we are the platform for everything client. And basically, if you have any kind of issues, you have any kind of like annoyances, pains, client management's kind of the monster under the bed. We're starting to say for MSPs and IT service providers, meaning that it's kind of hard to tackle making all the clients scalable and manageable and kind of growing at the same rate. So we're here to help take any kind of client-facing thing and add value to it. So whether it's from the ticketing experience that they have to running QBRs to even the DNS aspect, right? If it's client-facing, it's CloudRadial. So we're here to help you take a bunch of processes and smooth them out. And then Tim, your call if you want to read a wall of text or if you want to summarize, because I never try to read it for you.
Yeah, no. So we're a cloud managed DNS product, been around for many years. Really built and designed to focus around managed service providers. Big focus for us is ease of use, ease of management. In fact, if you look at for those who care about things like G2 and stuff like that, we consistently ranked in the easiest to use amongst our peers. A little bit unique. Most of our competitors are, VC or private equity backed. We're privately held, bootstrapped, profitable company. We don't have all that, VC pressure. We focus on the product and the customer. And we're consistently ranked by MSPs, by your peers. If you check channel program, we're the highest scored by actual MSPs for DNS filtering products. So that's kind of a summary about us. We really focus on simplifying DNS layer protection, and really trying to touch the things that that have been broken in these products before. So we try to focus on fixing those, making life easier for service providers. So
yeah, and that is exactly why when we CloudRadial was kind of thinking about how we can kind of add value in any kind of space in the DNS era. We talked to Tim. Tim's a great fit. I mean, again, Scout DNS, super solid product, and it just worked out to be a really, really natural integration between us two. So without further ado, as this is the deep dive demo, I think we should probably take a look at some Scout DNS stuff to get a feel for what it does, how it works and whatnot. And Tim, if you want, I think you should be able to screen share as well. Make sure that works for you.
Yeah, I can just pull up my demo instance here. Let me know if that's coming through.
Got you.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, no, we won't go through a full, I mean, obviously a full dive would take, 45 minutes plus.
Right.
But I will touch on a few things, just kind of following on about Scout DNS. We are, a US-based company. We're actually based in Dallas, near CloudRadial. We do have a global Anycast network. So we have points of presence all over the world. We actually have a ton of MSPs, obviously outside of North America, throughout Europe and Australia, and a few in Asia as well. So this is the primary dashboard when you first log in. On the left, you're going to see your primary tabs. One of the things that we really focus on is visibility, the DNS layer. So we feel like we bring a lot of really good drill down functionality to really be able to see sort of what's happening, drilling into what your tenants are doing, being able to generate and export what those views look like and how that's working. We focus on site-based deployments and roaming clients as well. So in site-based deployments, it's really easy to create a site, register a network, set network policy. If you want to go a little bit further, we're really the only vendor that has a zero-touch relay, meaning that I can deploy an on-premise forwarder that'll encrypt DNS and allow you to policy by subnet. Most of our competitors require you to manage some type of on-premise host file. All of the configuration in Scout DNS is done through the UI. You simply run a single line of code, adopt that on-premise forwarder, and you're off to the races. So again, we do have some MSPs that are purely roaming clients only, some that do roaming clients and WAN forwarding, and some that like to use the relays and do everything. So there's really no one size fits all. It really is just to kind of support what your business model is. I'm going to jump over to the roaming clients tab here because there's a lot of differentiation in here. Instead of dumping all of our clients in one big bucket, we use what's called device profiles, which allow us to basically group devices by tenant and by use case. And so in here, it's really easy to configure local forwarding tabs, generate your install files for really, really easy deployment. But one of the things I'd like to touch on, again, MSPs, I think, choose Scout DNS for easy use deployment management. That goes along with our zero touch relay, goes along with the low touch it takes to deploy our agents. But one of the things we also focus on is in the day-to-day, that troubleshooting piece. How do you work with agents on an ongoing basis? And so within the Scout DNS product, I can click on any roaming client. We actually have one of the few vendors that has a control API. So with a single click, most of our competitors, if you ever had a DNS agent, this is a pretty common story, DNS agent, one of your end user tenants end users is out on the road, they're having some DNS problems. You're like, well, I don't know if it's a DNS issue or not. I want to rule it out. With most of our competitors, you have to run some kind of custom script and hope DNS falls back to what it's supposed to do, or you try to remote it and stop the service. So we have a really simple one-click disable button. I can at any time press this disable button. It unbinds that loopback address, sets DNS back to default, and then within 30 seconds or less, you're able to go in there and just do whatever you need to do, and then you can turn that back on at any time. So it's a really good troubleshooting feature that our MSPs love because, again, hopefully you rarely ever have to use it, but you just know that it's just one click away to disable our service through the UI, and your service teams can do that. We also have a one-click uninstall. I can simply send an uninstall command to an agent, and it'll uninstall. You can uninstall by entire profiles. I can select entire profiles and block uninstall or re-enable those. I can override policy for individual devices. There's just a lot of control features here. Again, we don't want to spend too much time here, but just know our agents, our MSP clients really enjoy that. A couple of things about our agents, it's really unique. We are full-time encrypted DNS over HTTPS at all times. A lot of our competitors don't do that by default. So we are always encrypted. So we're getting through third-party sites and VPNs really well. And then last but not least, our auto disable, we have a fail open state. So if at any time our agent is unable to reach our health check domains and our API service, it will disable itself. At the end of the day, DNS just has to work. And that's, something that really, again, makes us work really well with captive portals. Again, another big complaint from a lot of our competitor products is that, someone's on the hotel or they're flying and they couldn't connect through the captive portal. We do really well with those. And so I think that's, again, a good feature for us. One of the newer features we just rolled out, and it gets just in line with our ease of management and ease of deployment, is our Active Directory based support. We just rolled out on-premise AD support. We will support intra-ID group-based policies as well, hopefully in about 3 or 4 weeks. That's almost done. But just to give you a quick idea, for a lot of our competing products, in order to roll out Active Directory support, you have to install some type of on-premise syncing agent that connects to the domain controller, which might be fine if you're an enterprise customer, but if you're an MSP and you've got multiple tenants, it's really a pain, right, to try to have an on-premise host dedicated to syncing and having access to that domain controller. We don't require that at all. So all of our roaming clients themselves sync the OU groups and the domains that they have access to. So it really takes about 5 or 10 minutes to bind a domain. And once you bind a domain, we can sync the observed groups, assign group-based policies, and do that all without installing anything on the customer premise. And here in about 3 weeks, we'll have an intra-ID tab as well that you can just connect with intra-ID and sync their OU groups and security groups and set policy to that as well. So again, just in line with the easy button, trying to make that easier to use and easier to manage. We have an organizations tab where you can get statistics on your organizations. You can check out billing and usage. Policies, we have a pretty advanced policy engine that lets you do all kinds of things, whether it's blocking classified to capture domains that were registered 15 minutes ago, object-based configurations so that you can do multiple allow block lists. We have multiple lists you can set as global, but you can also have customer or application or vertical-based lists, and you can sync those or cite those to a policy and manage those lists separately. So it's really easy to do. Threat-based, we use a machine learning-based threat engine that looks at a number of different DNS metadata points. In addition to that, we're tied to a network of nearly 900 million endpoints around the world, sharing threat-specific information. And on top of that, we source a number of public and private feeds that we curate for quality to remove false positives. On the content side, we cover 99.9% of the visible web in 200 languages at a 99.4% accuracy rate. We consistently get compliments about our categorization engine and how it is not disruptive. It blocks what you expect it to block, and it doesn't block the things you don't expect it to block. So we do a pretty good job with that. And on the application side, you can do some high-level application management. And in our Insights tab, we really give you the visibility to allow and block specific applications that you want to, and give you the insight to manage shadow IT and really have control over those applications, right? On the log side, we give you 30 days of detailed logs. Most of our competitors do not give you 30 days. We have a reason column that tells you in plain language why something was allowed or blocked. You have the ability to add things to the allow or block list. We're one of the few companies that allows full R data inspection at all times. So I can actually inspect a record, see what the IPs were returned, see if there's anything, if it's a text record, I can inspect the full R data and the payload of that text record. So again, really, really powerful. We support two-factor authentication for admins, single sign-on through intra-ID. So you can set different roles for your team. We have multiple role-based access, service desk, managers, viewers, admins. And we also support third-party use so that your end-user customers, if you have any co-managed IT, they can log in and have access just to their objects. Now, on the CloudRadial integration side, we have a really good integration that Michael can show you that is really meant for branch managers and people on site, your customers to have the ability to get user-based reporting and to add certain domains to allow a block list. So they don't have to bother open up a ticket to do that. But if you also have co-managed IT support that wants direct access to Scout DNS, you can grant them objects to just their organization. When they log in, they'll just see the objects that are based on the whichever records that they're logging into. So it's really easy to do that. And this sort of acts as a master filter where I can kind of see the data of just the organizations that are assigned. So we have a really great multi-tenant support. really powerful, really easy to work with agents, and a front-end design to make troubleshooting easier for managed service providers. So again, I think that's my quick run through. We could spend a lot more time and dive deeper into some of the more advanced controls, but we can always do that on another call individually as your partners want. So
yeah, and a couple questions came of that too, and I'll go ahead and just shoot them out real quick. So number one, that a different Michael asked is, does the application filtering function as a sort of zero trust, would you say?
So in terms of like blocking all applications except the ones that you allow, I guess you can sort of do that. We have sort of whitelist only modes that you can enable specific domains. It's probably not as convenient for that today. I would say it works better today just to give you visibility. What we actually recommend for most MSPs is in their custom list to create a master global list with just the domains, like for instance, that are critical for their specific MSP, right?
Mhm.
And then what they may do is create allow block lists for specific tenants. And then in our policy control, we typically recommend that you do things like block peer-to-peer, which is going to be remote access tools of VPNs. I'm sorry, it's going to be peer-to-peer networks of VPNs. Remote access tools are going to block your RMMs, all of your remote desktop application tools. The web proxies are going to block like third-party bypass, as well as blocking if someone goes to Firefox and tries to enable DNS over HTTPS. We block a lot of those domains.
Mhm.
But what we do like to do is when you block these applications, you say, Tim, well, I don't know what those domains are, right? I don't know what those applications are. So for us, that's what the power of the Insights tab was. We go to Insights, we go to Category Insights, go here to Category Type, and we select Applications, right? I might say, just show me things, maybe this week, right? And so here I can come in and see, like, for instance, 74 remote access tool hits. I can say, show me what these domains are. And then I can choose to add those to my allow or block list if I want, right? Or if I want to get more, more granular with it, or more a broader view, I can say, show me those domains, and then drill down to what those FQDNs are and get tighter visibility and allow those if I want to. So it's really easy to manage allow list and block everything, and then manage the things that you want to allow. So in a sense, I guess so, right? I mean, you can. We do recommend that with a lot of categories to block, and then just add the domains that you need to your application-specific list. And you can build application-specific lists, make it really easy to do that. Yeah. So, but again, if you want to just drill down, further into some of these categories from the application side, maybe you're only supposed to use SharePoint, but you got people using Dropbox, and so you want to go in there and kind of find out, who's using Dropbox or whatever, different types of tools. So it's really easy to kind of go into that function. So show me the logs, you get visibility into that. You can export those, build reports. But yeah, we do make it relatively easy to restrict applications.
Yeah, hopefully that answered it. Michael asked a couple of follow-up questions that I'll just say for due diligence. I think you covered them. But the other thing he said was, how does it block the application, or is it just blocking web traffic? I think you covered that. And then
it's domain-based, right? So yeah, so we're not managing the service level in Windows or Mac. We're really just bringing visibility on the domains that are being accessed, and then giving you the option to block access to those domains. So
yeah, so the executable would still launch on their computer. It just wouldn't be able to talk to anyone.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. And then that his other follow-up question for that was there a list somewhere about what each category contains? But obviously you're going through it now. I mean, there it is there.
Yeah. So the application category, we have a number of different application categories, and yeah. So this covers, I know a couple of vendors have we have 100 applications or 200 applications. This literally covers tens of thousands of applications that interface with the web, right? If it's out there, it should be categorized and in the proper category. So,
yeah, I'll jump to another question here we got from Alex. That was always encrypted DNS. Is that for roaming agents and relays only?
Correct. Yes. Yeah. So encrypted DNS takes place through roaming clients and through the relays. If you do any type of WAN forwarding, like just configuring our global anycast to your Windows DNS forwarder, or maybe you got a firewall that's doing forwarding, then that would just be standard port 53 DNS. So the encrypted DNS comes through our relay and through the roaming clients.
Gotcha. Yeah, and if good questions, if you guys have any follow-up, just like Michael did, just type them out. We're gonna happy to answer it. And then another question came through. We're gonna answer real quick too. A different Tim, not the one on the call, asked if a client uses a VPN for a policy, does the software allow for this?
So there's a broad range of different types of VPNs out there, right? So we can block VPN related domains. So for instance, like, if someone's using, and I'm assuming you're talking about like just like web traffic VPNs, not like
Yeah,
Like a site or client.
Yeah, if you have any more further clarification, just type it out and we'll just keep the chit chat going. So
yeah. So I think like for obviously we can block people trying to access VPN sites, and we can block access to any domain related VPN activity. Now, if someone loads a VPN application offsite, comes on site, and that VPN application is using IP-based connectivity, then obviously as a DNS product, we cannot block IP-based connectivity, right? So, but for devices that you manage, yes, we can, or for even unmanaged devices that are trying to access VPN-specific domains, we can block all of those that are domain related. And then working with, just general sort of network access VPNs, we do really well with that with our local forwarding tab, which allows you to manage and define what domains are forwarded internally, so that when someone is offsite or in the network or offsite, if someone does have a site-to-site VPN, that the resources that they need to access are always available. So,
sweet, excellent. Yeah, and I think we'll take that as a cue. And again, if you guys have any more stuff, type it out. We can always jump back and forth. But let's talk about the CloudRadial side of it and what that ends up looking like, because I think that this is one of those, I think iceberg integration would be a nice thing, where it's obviously like you're going to get just the tip of it in CloudRadial, as it kind of should be, because we're focused on obviously the client-facing part. And you can see that there's a bunch of power behind Scout itself. So I'll take over. We'll talk about really how simple it is. I don't have nearly as much of an in-depth demo, but I do want to show you guys what it looks like and how it works and all that. And then this is where I think our mic will shine, because we're going to talk about some different use cases and where this really comes in and helps out with clients as a whole. So on a technical level, it's very simple what ends up happening. So when we first go, what do we want to do ultimately with that data? Well, we want to put that data somewhere in the portal that it's accessible. And we're cognizant that traditionally the type of data that you're going to get from DNS reporting is probably only going to be something for administrators, points of contact, that type of thing. So we'll start with how you hook it up technically. You can generate keys in Scout DNS super easily, right? So it's truly just as simple as boom, boom, get your keys. Simple, simple. When you go to plug that stuff inside of CloudRadial, you could do so under configuration integrations, and it's there, right? We have a spot right here for Scout DNS. You plug it in. What then happens is, like many of the other integrations in CloudRadial, is you've got your portal, and then as you have a client, right, in your client list that you want to make sure that their DNS data loads into their company in CloudRadial, as you go to add them or edit an existing company, whatever have you, there's a spot for the integrations. And this is hopefully going to tell you exactly how this works. Is we want to show the data, yes, but if you also want to have the functionality where you want people to be able to add to the allow and block list from CloudRadial, then the only two things we really need are, we need a user with appropriate permissions, and I'll talk about that in a second, and then we need to know which one of the lists we do. But because you can create those lists company by company, right, we can just pull that, and basically every company gets their own list to pull to. So in this case, I already have one set up, so we're going to skip this, right? My main one here is set up. So obviously, from a best practice standpoint, if they each have their own allow block list, then when a user gets in there and starts allowing and blocking stuff, they're not adding stuff to the global list. It's specific to them. If you have Scout DNS hooked up, it's actually going to show up under usage internet, aptly named, because again, we're not trying to blow people's minds and confuse them with DNS stuff. If we're thinking about like the common end user, we're just trying to show like, hey, there's internet stuff to track and see. Now, the domain activity pulls through as well. We have quite a few records of this one, and they can get some details of like who saw what, who went to HubSpot and whatnot, and how often. And in this case, hey, I know that guy. He's on the call. We got Mike's data, loud and proud for everybody to see. And again, at the click of a button, if I have the appropriate level of access, which you can have users that just see this, obviously you can not have this tab show up for most users. And if you have the highest level of access as I do in this tenant, that's where I can throw in that allow and block. And that is going to write back to that list in Scout, and that's going to make sure that next time that stuff's not available, right? So that is effectively saving you from a ticket. And I think spade's a spade, because when we talked about adding this user into, this integration into CloudRadial, let me make sure my DNS isn't freaking out. There we go. We talked about like, what value does this have for the end user? And it turns out that as remote teams kind of grow, as people want to have kind of tabs on who they're managing, people being your clients, it turns out that people are pretty keen on being able to say like, yes, we know that Mike is on, he's working and everything, and I can see that he's actually going to domains and having activity pull through and whatnot and doing stuff, right? So if I want to be able to kind of have visibility on there and making sure that this isn't take my word for it, that he's working, it's nice to have that in portal where it's contextualized with all the other stuff that we have. So it's pretty much just that, right? It's plug and play the list, get the visibility of the users in there, and it's good to go. And I will tell you anecdotally, but happened to us that even one of our own employees a while ago was like, I'm going on vacation. And they said they were going on vacation in country. And it turns out they were in Portugal. We found out because of this. And that was pretty funny and ironic. But it happens to us too, guys. Mike, I would very much like to talk to you now as a one-on-one because you have so very many stories about the different DNS tools that you have tried and
Some
the
of which are appropriate for the setting, and
and
some are
some of
not.
which are not appropriate, but that's
If
also
you
the
want
funny.
to hear them not, book a session with me if you're my partner, and we can definitely run through some of those. So yeah, I'm kind of in a unique position here at CloudRadial, I'd say, because at the end of the day, I was in the MSP space for a long time, right? And over the course of a few different MSPs, I've sold pretty much every one of Tim's major competitors, right? My first MSP, whose mousepad I keep here to remind me of the sins of my past and why I do what I do now, we sold Cisco Umbrella, right? Made a lot of money selling it. When I moved to Houston, was working for kind of a larger enterprise MSP. I used DNS filter. For a while, I kind of took a detour, and I was the director of IT for a municipal government. I was internal IT for a while, and I don't recommend it to anyone in the audience. But I brought DNS filter along for the ride there, and ran into some problems. Right, mostly around the agent failing close. Right, which is a big thing I really like about Tim's product specifically, and about CloudRadial DNS. But when I started my own MSP, like a crazy person, I used a different solution because I was able to get it from Pack State, and it was cheap, and it was month to month, and sure, whatever. But let me tell you, I got what I paid for, right? And at the end of the day, and Tim, I'm sure you agree, there's a lot of great stuff here inside of Scout DNS that is unique in the space, but MSPs like this for the simple reason that it provides some additional security and it provides some MRR, right? That's what we're about. It's that monthly recurring revenue at the end of the day. And clients love it because, full transparency, they can spy on their employees, like Ricky was just saying, right?
Yeah.
And again, crazy person, I used to actually track how much time my technician spent on any given solution, right? How much time my tech spent talking about antivirus, talking about backup, talking about DNS. And because I was charging people for these solutions, those weren't billable calls. And I wanted to know how much labor I was putting into each one of these products. And by far, DNS was, especially during the initial rollout phase, one of the largest utilizations of labor for my technician, right? And what I like here is, every time somebody says, hey, I want to block a site, or why is this site blocked? Or is this site unblocked? Why is this not working? Or, hey, what is Bob doing on his laptop when he says he's working at 2 p.m. and he's going home? Is he? And those kind of things, each one of them ends up being a ticket. They put that ticket in, hopefully through CloudRadial, you hit the board, you assign it out to a technician, the technician logs in, they make a change, they look up a report, they follow up with the customer. Doesn't take a lot of time on a one-off, right? 5-10 minutes, maybe if you're already logged into stuff. But over the course of a year, let me tell you, that labor adds up fast, right? And so when we add in that CloudRadial integration, that's where things start to change as far as really taking advantage and getting all the profit you thought you were going to be getting out of a solution like, right? Because they can go in to the portal, they can block their own URL, they can allow a URL, they can pull a list of what Bob was doing on his computer and send it over to HR. And at the end of the day, that's the part that is going to make it easier for the client. It's going to save a ton of money, right, in labor cost, and it's just going to make it an easier thing to manage because we don't need to add additional tickets and additional stress to provide a service.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. I was trying to see if I can get Safi to answer, but she was saying in the comments, she sent the message to hosts and panelists that it was truly, like literally, again, it's one of those nice things that when we talk about this stuff, it actually applied to us. And it's the same thing. I know Mike said it in the comments, but like really is nice to have the self-service aspect too for clients to be able to just take care of this stuff on their own, save the head back and forth and more labor.
Absolutely. And from a troubleshooting perspective, again, when I brought DNS Filter along for the ride, when I was working in internal IT, I brought a lot of my vendors along. I kind of treated the town I worked for like a MSP, right? So all the different departments, I had them in my RMM, right? And I brought in tools that I do because I still was in contact with all my reps, and it was easy to get a hold of them. So one thing I ran into is that the agents for Scout DNS specifically were failing closed on me, right? And so, I live in Maine, very very cold here, very snowy, and I'd get a call from somebody who worked at Public Works, which is where our plow trucks run from, right? And they'd tell me, "Hey, I can't get online." Well, I can't get to that machine in my RMM either. So what do? I jump in my car, drive through the ice and the snow for 5-10 miles, and pull in there, get the machine, get the agent stopped, set the DNS back manually myself to a local resolver for our domain, and probably to 8888 or something, just because it's temporary and I want them to really get to the internet.
Right
And
on.
then, jump back in the car, drive back. I use my RMM that night. I fixed the agent issue. It was a pain every time it happened. And it happened more than a few times. And every time it was when there was a snowstorm, of course. So what I like here is not only that it fails closed, because that would have been a benefit, right? So my RMM still would have worked. I still could have fixed it. I never would have got the report. I just would have noticed the agent fell offline. They would have kept staying on the internet, because you guys remember that static DNS entry, or that DNS entry that's coming in from DHCP, which is huge, right? The other thing that I think was we brushed through a little too quickly is some of the troubleshooting that Tim has, where you have the ability to go in and disable that agent. Say somebody calls you and says, "I can't get to this website, I can't place this order, this form's not working. I guarantee it's your DNS software." You can click disable and say, "Well, try it now." If it does work, then we got to add inclusion. But if it doesn't, we proved it's not, and we move on with our day, and they contact their vendor. That's huge. And I actually, if you do a DNS demo with me in real time, and I think Michael in the comments here has actually done one with me, I actually shut my DNS filtering off live on the call, and we don't lose connectivity. We keep going. That is absolutely huge as far as saving the hassle to the client and not making them go, "Well, why did I buy this thing? It's just causing me headaches." That's not what I tried to get out of it. Right? So.
Absolutely. And speaking of, we got a question from Michael asking about a roadmap for giving companies multiple lists to add to. The use case for him is he's got co-managed clients with a couple different departments and lists and stuff. Yeah, I think we have a couple of different expansions that we're planning on in general. One of the things that we've talked about in the past, obviously, like Scout's grown tremendously even since we first started integrating with them. One of the things we talked about is getting like top level domains and stuff to display just to make the legibility a little bit easier. Certainly we can look into doing the multiple list management. The nice thing has been that as we see growth in the MSPs using it, and we see the stuff kind of evolving, we're getting better about logging a lot of these things and actually building plans for them. So I think it'll be, keep an eye out for at least next couple months. We'll see what we can do to make some of the stuff a little bit better, but it's been pretty good. Make sure I say that I answered that. Ta-da. Oh, if anybody has any other questions, please feel free to let me know. Like I said, it's like, I think it's kind of a no-brainer to get clients in on it. That's the other thing that we've seen is that like, if you want to lead with this, or at least have this be a part of the conversation, even in sales and like prospecting, it's really nice to be able to contextualize the internet information, the DNS stuff, in addition to some of the other reporting, right? So if you have that thing, again, the benefit of putting Scout data in the client portal is that, again, it's next to the inventory reports of their physical hardware. You got the internet activity, you've got their 365 data. That makes that conversation as a whole of security, of access, of self-service really, really important. And again, can't thank, Scout and Tim enough for making that like a really, really simple process to plug in and have it just work the way it does.
You guys have been a great partner to work with. So, your team is fantastic.
And while we wait for a couple more questions, my chance to get my plug in here. If you don't know who your CloudRadial account manager is, we got Finn in the chat. You saw him at the top. Ask him. and he'll be able to tell you who your account manager is, or you can email us at success@cloudradial.com. Let us know, hey, we want to talk DNS, or anything having to do with your existing portal as well. I see some names in here that I recognize from emails that I sent, but I don't think that I've met those people. So certainly set up a session with us, and we'll try to make it worth your time. And that's my account management plug, since I don't get a chance to get in front of y'all as often.
Yeah, and the webinars too. I know we do these, and obviously the deep dive series that we're doing right now is just to get an understanding and have a conversation, be able to talk to people like Tim, where it's like you may not be able to have face to face with them all the time, but we had a lot of people that signed up for this that usually just watch the recording for time zone differences and whatnot. You can still reach out. I'm going to put something inside of Cloud Radio. So again, if you're a Cloud Radio customer, you'll see a pop-up happen probably by the end of the day that just says like, hey, any more questions and whatnot. So whatever it is, whether you reach out to Finn, I'll put a link in there and inside of the product as well. Or if they want to reach out directly, you can always get more details from us. Just if you go do a demo at cloudradio.com/demo, there's a literal drop-down option to talk about Scout DNS. And again, Tim, if they want to reach out directly and ask you questions, is there any place they should go to for any more technical stuff offline?
Yeah, I mean, they can always reach out. Most of the folks here are going to be also managed by Mike Wilson on my team. He's just mike@scoutdns.com. And then you can always use this if you are a customer, you can always just open up a ticket with us directly through our portal, ask us any questions, but just feel free to reach out to Mike. You can also contact us if you don't have a contact person. You can reach out through our page, has a lot of contact information for us as well. Yeah, so that's no problem at all. I do see there was another question about feature requests. So do we log feature requests in the same place as the CR feature request? So I guess if it's, and I don't want to answer for Cloud Radio, but if it's a feature request directly in the Scout portal, something that you're wanting to do, definitely reach out to us. Again, a lot of people will use there's a feature request option in the support ticket that you can open, and you can say this is a feature request. You can lock it in there, and we will definitely take a look at that. I'm assuming if it's a feature request in terms of integration with CloudRadial, that would be something to go through the CloudRadial chain. We actually have a pretty regular call with the CloudRadial product teams and our team, just talking about new features and things that we can do to improve the integration and the information that we give to end users. And so we're always looking for more ways to, we got some great ideas coming up for next year as well. But we're always looking for more use cases that we can add to that. So.
Awesome. Yeah. And I'll just because I have it pulled up, I'll show you guys how to do that specifically in CloudRadial. But yeah, it's super simple. When you go to inside of CloudRadial, and if you are a CloudRadial customer and you actually have a tenant, if you go to your partner account section, there's a spot up top here for feature requests. So the moment you click that, you'll get signed into here. And when you actually go to add a new idea in our feature requests, super important.
I can't see your screen for the record.
No. Well, you can imagine how powerful the thing is, right? All right, well, recap, 2 buttons anyways. Partner account, feature requests up here, takes you to it. When you're in the feature request area, it's literally a thing where it goes add a thing, and then you just make sure that you click on DNS, and that'll route it there. But like Tim said, the important thing is that because we have like a really tight integration, we have these weekly calls or whatever, it's like this stuff gets discussed just like we're doing it right now. So it's not something that's going to get forgotten and lost in the ether. So pretty important for us to log it that way. But thank you. That's a good question.
One more thing before I forget. I do want to throw out there, if you're in this call and you don't already have CloudRadial DNS, you probably do have a solution already in this space that you're looking to move away from, or see if the grass is greener on the other side, right? Whether that's DNS filter, Defense-X, Cisco Umbrella, whatever it is, we know you have a solution in the space, which is one of the reasons that with this particular product, we do actually offer a 2-week free trial there. So if you want to kick the tires, give this a spin for yourself, push out that DNS agent to a couple places, test out the relay, talk to Tim here. I meet with him every week. I enjoy it. So I imagine if you guys set up a call with him, you will as well. And just see if it's something that you're interested in moving to. We do have that ability. You can reach out to Finn, your account manager, email success. We'll get a trial started for you so you guys can really see the benefits yourself too.
And at the risk of my own ignorance, I want to answer this as well. So Justin asked a question about when it comes to licensing, do you buy a pack at the highest possible usage, or does the billing shrink and grow based on usage month to month? I'm not sure. I know it's on our pricing page, but I actually don't know if it shrinks month to month. Can't remember. Anyone know off the top of their head? If not, I'll get back to you, Justin.
No, so absolutely. So with the pricing, it starts at a minimum of $50, right? The per agent cost there is $1.05. So, we do the math, that's 48 agents or so for that minimum cost. Once we have that established, that is on at tier one, which is what you're looking at on Ricky's screen there. That we're looking at, a month to month, right? And it does certainly shrink as you add and remove agents. We're going to look at the end of the month. We're going to see how many you use. We're going to bill you based on that usage or any overages. When it comes to the cheaper pricing options, a lot of those come in as a tier. All of them do, right? So at 500 agents, at 1,000 agents, you can get different pricing. You'll work with your account manager, with me or one of our other account managers. Say, hey, I'm past 500 agents. I really want to, take advantage of the 95 cent per agent pricing. At that point, we're going to lock in some price protection for you for a year. So there would be an annual commitment to get that, lower pricing. But that's in general kind of how it works. And I can feel the question coming ahead of time, so I'm going to nip it in the bud beforehand. If Ricky wants to scroll down to the fine print for me, obviously we talk about agents here, and we're talking about price per agent, right, Tim? And I know that we obviously have a solution for handling the billing if you guys use just a relay. Think about a guest Wi-Fi number, right? Or maybe a school or something like that, where you can't have an agent on every machine. What we do is we look at the average queries per user, and we basically say at about 150,000 queries, we consider that a person or an agent, right? And that's kind of how it's built out. And I can tell you firsthand, you saw my data in there. I use my computer day in and day out. Ricky will tell you I'm online from sun up till pretty much almost sun up again. And I do not hit 150,000 queries a month, right? So that is certainly some protection there. It's just to basically make sure that we're billing things fairly. But like I said, I hear it all the time. Hey, what if I'm not using an agent? And that's kind of how those things are built as well.
Yeah. Thank you. That's a good point too, because I think that we try to be very, very transparent on the stuff, on the pricing and whatnot, which is, again, this is public. If you go to cloudradial.com/pricing, you can see all that stuff right there. But yeah, I think the best way, if I had to put a call to action for all this stuff, I think give it a try. I mean, really, there's a reason why the trial's there. Give it a shot, see how much easier it is to manage with Scout. And in general, when you put it in a client portal and put it in that context, that's another really nice feather in the cap to talk about how that makes you different as an MSP and an IT service provider. We've seen a lot of people have good success with that. Again, the visibility is nice, but again, I think in general, just from a client standpoint, self-service is cool. People like the ability to handle their own stuff, and when it comes to especially their own, allowing blocking, just let them do it, right? At the end of the day, it is their stuff, and you don't really want to be messing with that too much. So if you want to set a policy, but then let them handle the fine tuning, that seems to go over well with a lot of people. Okie doke. I think, gents, I know we slated an hour. I don't think anyone minds a 15-minute early break, but again, in-app and our stuff, just Mike at Scout DNS. What was the email specifically?
Yeah, you can reach out to Mike at Scout DNS as well. But your CloudRadial teams, and I think Finn put his information there. Finn can spin up the trial. They work really close with our team to get your trials going, and going through CloudRadial, we can still do joint onboarding, and we work really, really tightly. So just probably easier just to go through your CloudRadial team to get stuff spun up, and then we'll have some joint communication and get your trial running, and then from there, if you have questions, as Michael said, if you have some questions, we can jump on a call, do a little bit deeper dive, talk about some. We usually do a best practice call with MSPs, talking about how to work with the applications, how to do TLD filtering lists, how to if you want to go further, how to manage block unclassifieds and to capture newer domains and things like that. So there are some security best practices we'll talk about, do a little bit deeper dive. But yeah, looking forward to doing that when you guys are ready.
Right on. Yeah. So again, I'll do the in-app stuff, and then obviously, just to keep things simple, then we'll send an email out to everybody who registered. We'll have Finn's email in there too to set some stuff up.
But I see a question. I wanted to hit that real quick.
Sure. Which one's that one? Is that one in the Q&A or somewhere in the comments?
On the right. Let's see, 200 agents based on the relay usage. Oh, I guess I'm trying to understand that. So one of the things that the way we count seats, by the way, and I believe we're doing it the same way, correct? The way that we count seats, the usage really applies just to the network side, not the agents. So usually we're kind of ignoring that on the agent side and just applying the network seat count based on how many people are using networks that don't have an agent. So we're able to kind of separate that traffic. But definitely, I think that'd be a good use case for a trial and seeing how that usage comes in for you guys.
Most def. All right. Anybody else have anything before we adjourn? If you want to go ahead and type it in now, give you a little bit for the most part while we wind down. I want to say thanks a bunch, Tim, for joining us. Thanks again. I always appreciate it when you hop in and show stuff off. And thank you, Mike, on our side for chit-chatting and posting a bunch of stuff in the comments and letting people know where to reach out to us. That's very helpful as well. And again,
all right,
no big deal if you
Thanks for having me.
now get to us later, but thanks guys. Have a great rest of your day and thanks for joining. I'll catch you
thanks
later.
CloudRadial team, thanks attendees, we appreciate you. Yep.
Thank you.
See you guys.